welcome to June. In this reading, we're going to take a look at the big picture storyline brought to us by Pluto Retrograde in Aquarius, and then we're going to dive into the day-to-day energy, including your chart ruler Venus, who is moving signs. So I'm titling this month for you, Live Your Truth, and as we go through the forecast, I think you're going to see why. If you were born closer to September 23rd, you could benefit from listening to Virgo's reading. If your birthday's closer to October 22nd, you might want to take a look at Scorpio. Thank you for bearing with me. I know that I'm getting the extended forecast out much later than normal. This is also a new approach to the videos. I'm just looking at the wheel. I'm telling you what I see as I go. I hope to put out more polished paragraphs for each transit on my website. I'm a little bit under the weather, so we're going to see how things go. So let's get started. On May 4th, Pluto, the planet of empowerment and power plays, went retrograde in Aquarius. So over the last few years, Pluto has been trying to inch its way out of Capricorn, where it was impacting your home life. So since it's still the very early degrees of Aquarius, pending on your personal chart placements, the retrograde may still have you tying up loose ends related to home, family, property, parents, or your past. But since this is a whole sign reading, Aquarius for you points towards your personal life. This can include dating and children, sports, hobbies, creative projects, even small business. So between now and mid-October, you're reassessing and refining these areas. Since Pluto also rules your second house of money, possession, self-worth, and your personal life, I think your personal life is going to be the source of inspiration, boosting your confidence, or it's giving you anxiety because it's costing you money. So either way, it's under review. And with the trine to Uranus in your 8th house of shared assets like debt, taxes, mortgage, insurance, things are changing rapidly. The good news is you have trines to Neptune and Saturn, and they're in your 7th house of committed partnerships. So I don't think you're going this alone. You're working through things or sharing your best moments with a significant partner, romantic or platonic. Neptune does have you dreaming big, and Saturn is teaching you lessons along the way. So this all makes sense if you're not seeing eye to eye with someone about a budget or a big purchase. With Pluto in Aquarius, you could also be acting a bit eccentric in your personal life. So you could be overspending or overgiving because it feels good. It gives you a sense of control, liberation. Pluto is going to be in Aquarius for the next 20 years. So this isn't all happening overnight. I think you need to use the retrograde to rework your personal life where needed. Now on June 6th, your chart ruler, Venus, goes into Taurus from now until Independence Day. So you are Venus. Wherever she is where you are. So over the next month, your day-to-day activities are being driven by joint resources, time, money, and energy shared with others or institutions. Because again, this can be mortgage, credit card debt, insurance, but it's really also about deep emotional ties we have to fears about money and death. So this is a very private area of our lives. It requires us to be vulnerable, to face our fears. And because Venus is your chart ruler and these topics can be stressful, anxiety can manifest in physical ways. Your reactions during this time can also impact the way others see you, and their reactions can impact how you view them. Does that make sense? Again, there is a square to Pluto in Aquarius. So that's other people. And for you, it's about your personal life, romance, projects, hobbies, children. These areas could be causing resistance or tension with other people. So the entire month hands you, everyone really, a mixed bag of sweet and salty. Now on June 9th, we need to talk about Jupiter. On June 9th and until next July, this is a 1-year transit, Jupiter is going to be in Cancer. Jupiter does bring good luck and growth. It's also about expansion, which can present as growing pains. The energy can be overwhelming, especially in the 10th house, which is about your legacy, how you make your mark on the world, what you're known for. So this is why it's so much tied to your career, your public reputation, your role in society, your social status, married, divorced, parent, grandparent. So It could also be things like being a volunteer or, being on a board. But it's about your public reputation. Okay, so try and narrow things down. We're actually going to take a broader look. Jupiter is connected to your third house of communications, contracts, business, technology, vehicles, neighborhoods, and relatives. There's a lot going on in that house. So if you work in sales or marketing, or if you're a writer or public speaker, Jupiter will definitely bless these areas. You're going to be able to communicate well with the people around you. Jupiter is also connected to your sixth house of work, wellness, pets, routines. So if this does tie to you, so when we tie this to your 10th house, if you work in healthcare, fitness, nutrition, or with animals, you could really benefit greatly with Jupiter moving through Cancer. Or these will be areas that you focus on to feel better about yourself over the next year. So I know my dog is my best friend. He's been there with me through all the things, a true blessing. So lean into these areas if you feel the pressure of Neptune and Saturn squares in your seventh house of committed partnerships. So if a spouse, a business partner, a healthcare provider, or like a big client triggers your last nerve, find a way to talk it out or walk it out. Now, this energy all is building up to the full moon in Sagittarius. And full moons are completions, they are endings, they are culminations. And we want this at 21 degrees, which means having a plan. So this full moon is actually ruled by Jupiter. So it's no surprise to me that you're preparing for some kind of expansion in your career. But given that it is in your third house, this could prompt a change in the way you speak your truth or share your ideas. So you might have a fallout, and you could be able to reconcile now with a neighbor, a sibling, a relative. You could buy or sell a vehicle. You might have a change of address and move into a different neighborhood. You could also land or let go of a major client, sign or dissolve an important contract, wrap up a certification, writing or speaking project. You get the idea. Any or all of these situations will prompt a change in where or how you're working, or your health and schedule will be impacted. Whatever the release, I think it's going to feel really cathartic, given you've got the trine right here to Chiron in your seventh house of partnerships and self-awareness. So take a deep breath on the 11th, either let it go or pat yourself on the back for working hard over the last 6 months. Now we're going to go into some of the trickier days. And, these honestly could be the fallout from the full moon, but this stuff has been brewing for a while now. So on the 15th, first of all, we've got Mars in Leo squaring Uranus and Taurus. Mars is at the final degrees of Leo in your 11th house of friends, professional networks, profits, big picture plans. So this will feel like a final push. Uranus is the planet of innovation and disruption. It brings sudden change, especially when activated by one of the bad boys of astrology, Mars and Pluto. Uranus is also at the final degrees of Taurus in your very, very private 8th house of debt, insurance, taxes, and loans, which can uproot secrets or hidden issues around trust, sex, control, and our greatest fear. So this really is not a fun placement. So if things get really tight, I think you should use the sun's energy right here to go on a trip, learn something to make sense of the hardships, or anchor yourself in your faith. Otherwise, you can pour your attention into your career or parenting, since you do have a sextile to Jupiter. Okay. Also on the 5th, and speaking of Jupiter, we have Jupiter in Cancer squaring Saturn in Aries. So this is the third and final square to these planets. The first one happened in late August. The second one happened on Christmas Eve. And now on the 15th, the square hits again. So it's like the same stuff is going to be happening, but you should be able to navigate it better. So your career, your social status, your public image is at odds with a serious relationship. And remember, this can be a spouse, it can also be a business partner, your therapist, doctor, best friend, clients, anyone who you have a contractual obligation to. Saturn wants you to be more discerning about who you partner with, but Jupiter's energy wants to go big or go home. So I would listen to Saturn, even though Jupiter technically is in the superior position. Take that for what it's worth. Okay, so now we move the wheel just a few days to the 18th, and it's a very similar setup, but now the square is activating Neptune in your seventh house of committed partnerships and self awareness. Neptune is the illusionist, and all the more Neptune has you dreaming about what life could be, but it also clouds our judgment. It makes things really confusing. And because Neptune rules your sixth house of work, health, and habits, it's possible the tension in your relationship is disrupting your schedule. Your schedule is being thrown off. So, on the one hand, you want to grow, you want to build your career, or you want to grow and build with this person, but you could be juggling too many responsibilities, Saturn, and it's throwing you off balance. And that's a state that Libra does not appreciate. Your purpose is to bring peace, harmony, and balance to the world. So let's end this forecast with some brighter moments. And we're going to move ahead to the 24th, and that's the Jupiter Cazimi. And some astrologers call this the Day of Miracles, because a Cazimi is when the sun joins forces with the planet and supercharges its energy. And Jupiter is obviously the planet of good luck, fortune, and growth. However, this day might not feel as lucky as it could just because you still have the squares to Saturn and Neptune in your seventh house of committed partnerships. But Jupiter is influencing your career and your reputation. It's connected to, again, how you communicate, how you move throughout your day to day, as well as your work environment, your health, and your schedule. While the sun is tied to your social life, the money that you make in your long-term plan. So let's put it together. On June 24th, you could reach a professional milestone. Perhaps you give an acceptance speech, or you post an achievement on social media. This has you feeling really good about yourself. It may even come with a promotion, and then you go out and you celebrate with your friends afterwards, okay? And then your final event of the month is going to be the new moon in Cancer, which is happening at 4 degrees. There we go. And this is your opportunity to set new goals when it comes to your career role as a parent. So I say reverse engineer the process and chip away at it over the next 6 months. With Mars now in Virgo, in your 12th house of what you keep hidden, I think you're going to be extra diligent about working behind the scenes to succeed at something. Yes, you still have squares to Neptune and Saturn in your seventh house of committed partnerships and self-awareness. It is what it is, but you have a new goal in mind now. And if someone isn't on your team, or if they're making you feel less than, this is a so be it situation. So I hope that was helpful, Libra. Have a great month.
If you found value in your forecast, please pay it forward by subscribing to the channel, posting a comment, and clicking on the notification bell. Transcripts are posted on astrocoachkate.com, where you can find all the ways to train with me and book a free discovery call.